Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be reviewing the iPad Pro M2, a pretty powerful device that aims to redefine what a tablet can do and something that's still worth in the year 2025. With the iPad Pro M2's sleek design, it has very minimal bezels as you can see on the side, a nice front-facing camera, unfortunately not center staged. For most people who are maybe using this as like a laptop replacement, that may be potentially an issue that the iPad M4 Pro potentially may fix for you. So that might be a reason to upgrade. Really great note-taking device with Word and Notes. Great for calendar and productivity and other stuff like that. And it's also just a great streaming device as well. This iPad will probably never feel slow since it has a M2 processor, a computer chip, and it has most of the iOS features that most people may need. Like it has iMessage, it has Safari, it has Notes, and it has honestly anything your iPhone may have. And that's the brilliant thing about iPad OS, is that it is basically like iOS but larger and more laptop-esque by having additions like Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, and other Apple software that potentially may come down the line, and they're always getting updated, always getting better, and it's really easy to work with a Mac. Another great feature with iPad OS that you may have over Mac OS is Apple Pencil support. It's also a touchscreen. If you have an iPhone 13 Pro or newer, you have that 120 Hz ProMotion display that is on this iPad, and again, it just makes iPad OS such a fluid and great experience. Some of the great accessories with iPads are the Apple Pencils and the Magic Keyboard. So the iPad Pro M2 unfortunately does not support the newest Magic Keyboard, so that may be an issue some people may have. It doesn't have like that aluminum. It doesn't have that like aluminum frame. It's just still this like more silicone-y type feel. But again, the trackpad feels great. Typing on it is great. Like just typing like hello world is really easy, really smooth, has like that clicky feel, not very bendy. The weight distribution may be a little off since like most of the weight is on the iPad itself, but let me just pop it on here. I know it's going to be a little hard to see the screen. I can try to tilt it back as much as possible, but the keyboard is backlit. It is a great keyboard. The price is a little much. Starting at around $300 may be a turnoff for some people, but there are also many great third-party alternatives out. I know Logitech has a great one, and I know there's a lot of different alternatives out there as well. Do your own research, and I know they also go on sale from time to time again, and this potentially may be the soon outgoing model, so who knows, maybe it'll go on sale, and you could probably get this at a great price. The Apple Pencil here, unfortunately this does not support the Apple Pencil Pro, only available on the iPad Pro and the iPad Air M2 and newer. Unfortunately, this only supports Apple Pencil 1st Gen, USB-C, and Apple Pencil 2nd Gen. Now, Apple Pencil 2nd Gen is great. You know, you could tap it on and you could just charge it. Mine, unfortunately, it only charges through USB-C. But I'm not like a crazy user of the Apple Pencil. I just like it for the convenience and not always having to touch the screen. And sometimes I could just use Apple Pencil for Apple Pencil things. But if you are looking for like, if you are like an artist, or maybe you're more like in tune with graphic design and stuff like that, the iPad Pencil Pro may be an option for you. Unfortunately, this iPad does not support it. Fortunately, there are some cons with the iPad Pro, but one of the first cons is the price. So when I bought this iPad back in 2022, I did have the educator discount and got an additional $100 taken off it. But that means I still paid $1,100 for this device. You know, and MacBook Air costs $999 now. Like an M4 MacBook Air that recently just got announced by Apple costs $999. Now, if we're going back to 2022, you could get the M1 MacBook Air for about $999 and the MacBook Air M2 for $1,199. But, so with the educator discount, it ended up being around $1,100. But that doesn't include the Apple Pencil, which I got the USB-C one, which is $69, and then the Magic Keyboard over here that cost me $300. With the price of being $1,100 for the iPad, plus the keyboard being $300 and the Apple Pencil being $70, it comes out to over $1,400. And at that point, you could start to get a lot more stuff. You can get a MacBook Air with some upgrades and stuff like that. So then what is the iPad Pro for? Unfortunately, that's the problem with iPad OS. It is great being a mix between iOS and Mac OS, but it kind of still leans towards that iOS-y feel. I mean, scrolling like through the UI, it's like very iOS-y feeling. Like if you get an iPhone and you get an iPad, they're gonna feel exactly the same as if you get a Mac and an iPad. They're gonna feel like two completely different devices. Now, it has been getting better over the years. Apple is slowly trickling down features from the Mac, but simple things like the price, the Magic Keyboard, and the pencil, it's just, I feel like it's kind of difficult to find who the iPad Pro is for, and that's why I recommend honestly buying this today, because in the used market, this iPad goes for about $600, which I think is a great justification for it. You know, you can probably find a used Magic Keyboard. Obviously, be careful. Those things can get really gross really quickly. For about like $150 I've seen on eBay and other websites. And for about like $700, which is what the Apple is now charging if you want like a spec'd out like keyboard, iPad, and pencil for like the base 11th gen iPad, I think it would be great because the M2 chip still does support Apple Intelligence. You get that ProMotion display, you get the thinner bezels, you get the Magic Keyboard, you get the Apple Pencil 2nd generation, which the iPad 11 still only supports 1st gen Apple Pencil. The Pro is the laminated on display. Now, this does make it harder to repair and more costly, but it just makes it look like there's no air gap between the screen. It's just smooth, clear, and that OLED panel also makes it a lot better. The OLED panel makes it a lot better, and the viewing experience is a lot more richer. So I've had this iPad for about 2 years now, and the battery has never been an issue with me. I've always had it for all day use. I've never had an issue where it's like, oh my god, I'm about to run out of battery. No, even just doing like FaceTime, word processing, video editing, graphic design, even just going through the news or watching YouTube, it's never been a major issue for me. The only issue I will say is that if you compare it to a MacBook, especially the newer ones that you can get for a price like this, like an M2 MacBook Air, or now you probably can even find M3 MacBook Airs for this price, the battery life will be substantially better than that. So with camera and audio. The cameras, you know, it's an iPad camera. It probably is similar camera capabilities to like an iPhone 11. This is the last iPad to feature the ultra wide lens. So I think honestly that's better than the M4 iPads like telephoto zoom lens. The ultra wide is better, especially you don't have to step back, and sometimes you can't step back for those like ultra wide shots. And again, the front facing camera is perfectly usable. It's great. There's like no issues with it. At this point, front-facing cameras have been great for a very long time. Unless you're like back in an iPhone 6 or something within that time period, you should have pretty much no issues with the front-facing camera, especially when it comes to Zoom or FaceTime or whatever you may be using that front-facing camera for. So one of the greatest things actually about the iPad Pro, it has really good speakers. Like, surprisingly very good for how thin and light it is. Like, the speakers are absolutely amazing, and I think that this is actually one of the best features about it, but let's let it do the talking. So the iPad has pretty clear speakers. I mean, I'm not going to play too much audio for you guys because I don't know. It says no copyright, but probably it's going to be copyrighted. But I think it's great, and it's just a great speaker. You definitely won't have any issues with the speaker, especially down the line. Because this is just solid, and it'll probably hold up and stand the test of time. So to talk about the competition from the likes of the Samsung Galaxy Tab and even Apple's MacBook Air series, really, what is the best choice? Again, there are a lot of benefits to owning a MacBook Air. You know, obviously you're running the Mac OS system, and you probably can find a MacBook Air M3 for about the same price, but you do lose on that ProMotion display. You do lose on a lot of compatibility with iOS software, but the Samsung Galaxy Tab is just not up to par with iPad OS. Android, they've been trying for years and years and years, and actually my first ever tablet was an Android tablet, but it just does not compare to iPad OS. Even before, when it was iPads used to run iOS, it's just iPads have nailed this. And even if you don't own an Apple device, I think the iPad is still just the greatest tablet in the market at the moment. And if you do own Apple devices, I think it's great because you could use this with so many different features. With like Mac, you can do a sidecar where you can have it display as a second monitor. You can airdrop files. If you have Final Cut Pro on your Mac and your iPad, it's just easy to export files through. iCloud, obviously you can share photos between your iPhone, your Mac, and your iPad and any other iOS device. The seamless transition between AirPods from your iPhone to your iPad to your Mac. Just the Apple ecosystem, the walled garden, they say. It's just very convenient. So that's another reason to get an iPad if you already are in the Apple ecosystem. But even if you're outside of the Apple ecosystem, I think this is a great first device for somebody who's maybe into graphic design, who needs that color accuracy display. And it won't be as good as the iPad Pro M4, but at this point, the prices have gone down significantly where you can justify buying this over the iPad Pro M4, because with processing power, the M4 chip is a step up from the M2, but when it comes to iPads and running iPad OS, honestly, even the M1 chip is still great. So don't really worry about it not getting like all the crazy new features, because it still has all the features. It still can pretty much run anything you want it to run, and with great and amazing speed. And if you are upgrading from an iPad, I think it would be great if you were coming from an iPad 10th gen, 9th gen, anything older than that, an iPad Pro from 2018. I think this would be a great jump from that to that, because it's still using that A12X processor, and who knows how long that might be getting supported for. So I think that would be a great jump from that. Or any iPad Air, honestly, before the M2, because the M2 is equal to this. I think it would be it's great because now you start to get that ProMotion. And honestly, over any Android tablet, with Android tablets, they're great, but they just don't have that same fluid motion as iPad OS. So to break it down, who is the iPad Pro M2 for? A creative professional, a power user, and somebody who wants the best tablet experience, but you don't want to pay that extreme high premium for an iPad Pro M4. I mean, the price is pretty hard to beat, and if you are looking for a true laptop replacement, iPad OS still has its limitations. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.